Painter. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, how are you?
Good.
Good. What was your message to your team, I guess, when you guys went through the Miami film and kind of what they need to take from it and what you want to see them take from that to get better, I guess?
There's a lot of things. I'd say, like, first of all, like when you get on the road, like you got to put yourself in a position to win. And then obviously you got to be able to win the game. And a lot of breakdowns, especially in that second half, but you still have the opportunity to win the game. And it just didn't seem like, and it really wasn't, like they were trying to win the game. Like, you know, the mentality, you know, that you have to have, or the discipline that you have to have on both ends of the court, you know, just, you know, being solid, whether that's, you know, getting a quality shot down the stretch or getting a stop. You know, it's from a scouting report standpoint, it was probably the easiest scout that we possibly could have. And that was simply be in a gap with Matt Cross, but if they drive at you, go back to him and don't let him catch and shoot the ball. Everybody else, absolutely, no matter where your man is, you're going to stop the ball. And so the fact that they drove the ball at the end, you know, the times that they did, and were able to have any type of success, considering we were just trying to keep the ball out of the paint and protect the paint and make them hit, you know, a three, make them hit a perimeter jumper over us. That's what we're going to let them shoot. Not really let them shoot, but if you ever get put in a tough spot, and the fact that they're able to get to the basket, that was probably, you know, discouraging. Like, you know, good teams find ways to win and bad teams find ways to lose. But you can also have a really tough loss earlier in the season that can flip that script and help you grow into a good team. Obviously, right now we're not there because you got to be able to handle adversity. You see some teams that get and they play well. And so when they play well and things go their way, you really don't find out about it. Obviously, they have talent. Obviously, they played well. Obviously, they won. But how about when you get into games and you hit adversity, especially when you get leads? Like, why shouldn't you play the same way you played to get that lead? Well, from a human behavior standpoint in competition, that's not what happens. That's why you'll see games seesaw a lot of time. The team gets up, especially in the NBA, you'll see it because it's so talented. Those guys are so talented. One team will get up and you'll say, how does that happen when that other team comes back? Well, it's human behavior. Like, the other team, first of all, is good, that's down. And now they start to play a little bit differently. But so does the other team. The other team has a little bit more urgency. And you see that a lot in competition, especially, you know, the higher you go up on that ladder. Well, we get in that situation, and then our shot selection just increasingly got worse. And then our ability to keep the ball in front of us got worse. And we just didn't, you know, we're able to get stops, be solid, take care of the ball. But we were doing, like, whether it's a offensive foul turnover, an illegal screen turnover, not screening on offense. So just being able to do some basic fundamental things so you don't turn the ball over, so you can run offense, so you can get a quality shot, that really hampered us. Then we did get some good shots, and they didn't go down. So it was that combination of anything that could go wrong for us did. So that's really, you know, where we are right now is like, you know, like who are we? You know, can we learn from this and get this turned around and learn a really hard lesson and this be better for us in the long run? Or will we consistently kind of get ourselves in ruts and not be able to get out of them? And that's happens. You can look at that in experience. You can look at that as youth. You can look at, you know, we do have experienced players, and we do have players that have played in games before, and we didn't show any of that. And I thought we were ready to play. I thought we had our coaches did a good job with our game plan. Just when we got into that second half, our ability to do basic things and have a competitive spirit about us and just really rally the troops and just find a way to win that game. And we didn't do that. So my answer really lies in what goes forward. We're going to work on things. We're going to, you know, discuss things. Whether we win or lose, we watch film. You know, whether we win or lose, we practice hard the next day. You know, whether we win or lose, we're going to hold people accountable. It's going to go on. It's going to keep going on. So it's not anything that we're going to do any differently but we just have to get a more consistent, productive play across the board.
Is this where you find out if you have the leadership maybe you didn't have last season?
Boy, I don't know about that. I don't know if, like, you look at it from that standpoint. I think we have people that are trying to do the right things. I don't look at it like we have a leadership problem. I think we have a problem functioning in an organized college basketball game. I think that's an issue. That's our issue. Like, set a legal screen. If you're supposed to screen legally. You know, if you're penetrating and you're drawing people, play on 2 feet. So a lot of times things get put into theory like it's a leadership issue. I don't look at it as a leadership issue. You know, I think, you know, I heard you ask the question earlier, or Mike did. I just think that not everybody has what other people have as a kind of a natural leader, but you have it in you to do your job. And if you do your job and you play hard and you have a competitive spirit, you're a leader. You're a leader because you're a leader through action. I've seen a lot of guys talk loud in the huddle and then not do their job. We just need guys to do their job. We need guys to keep things simple, stay in their lane, know who they are. Each guy's got a little bit different game or more to them, but everybody has such similarities as a player. Everybody should be a sprinter. Everybody should be a rebounder. Everybody should embrace the physicality of the game without fouling. Everybody else, you know, you don't separate some pillars of the game of basketball no matter who you play. Now, when you get against certain styles, you got to be able to function. If somebody's in a zone press or somebody's switching man-to-man, you know, 5 ways, you know, you got to be able to play the game and understand that. And from a schematic standpoint, we have to help them. But those other things, man, those are just, that's commonplace. You know, leadership's going to be in doing things and not necessarily talking about it. But the guys that do what they're supposed to, or trying to do what they're supposed to, sometimes it's hard to piece it all together. Each guy's a little bit different in terms of their experience. So if I got a guy on our team that knows what he's doing and doesn't do it, that's probably a bigger problem than somebody who's on my team that's not doing this job, that really doesn't have a good grasp on it yet. There lies our difference in some of our guys. And that's what we have to have. We have to have a maturity and an honesty about ourselves. And I always talk about that when we lose, but I really talk about it a lot across the board, is that just be honest with yourself. Just be honest about what we're doing. We're collectively trying to win together. And sometimes we all, whether consciously or subconsciously, get off that grid.
All right. This kind of feels like a moment where you might tinker with your starting lineup. Do you think that's
we
grabs right now?
Yeah, we will. So we'll see. I like to see who wants to finish the game. Like, you know, we didn't have a bad start to the game. We had a good start to the game. So if those guys weren't good at starting in the game, then how'd they play well? Obviously, they had a bad start in the second half. Obviously, they had a bad start to the Valpo game, but they had a good start to the second half. So, you know, in the last 2 games, they've got it flipped. And just that inconsistency right there, you know, now we got to see, are you going to help somebody by starting them? Or are you going to help somebody by not starting them? I hope both of those things are accurate. And it can work both ways. Sometimes people look at, well, I'm not starting, it's a demotion. Well, wake up. Do what you're supposed to. Right. You know, then some guys is like, you know, maybe they're better at starting. Like maybe some guy coming off the bench that's done a few good things for us. Now maybe that gives him some confidence, or maybe the other guy, you know, so it can work psychologically both ways for you. It also can work psychologically against you.
Right.
So like, you just don't know as a coach, but I do know going forward, we can't do it the same way right now. Maybe this is a group that comes back together at some point, because nothing's ever final. Like you always have this puzzle, whether that's through recruiting, through the team that you have right now, you're always trying to piece your puzzle to the right way, and there's always moving parts. And so as a coach, you got to really work towards having a pulse of your team. And sometimes that's hard when there's inconsistent play.
Weekly Jaden check, any ETA on him practicing?
He has not practiced.
Not practiced yet. Just the other thing I want to ask about, in light of, I guess, some headlines around college basketball the last couple of days, how do you feel about playing right now? I mean, is this working?
Well, we knew it wasn't going to be perfect, and just because it's not perfect, you know, I think it's a mirror of what's going on in our society, and so I think we have to just keep going. I think everybody that didn't go into a bubble had issues. Everybody's had issues, and we knew going into it there was going to be issues. I think we just got to keep pushing forward. keep trying to improve it. I know the everyday testing for us is the best thing to do. It's not a cure-all. It doesn't mean it's going to knock everything out. I think that's proven, but I do think we're under the best protocol in our league by testing every day, and that's really helped us. And I think in hindsight, people that had the funds to do that and to test every single day, the people that don't have the resources and the funds, like, you feel for them because their hands are tied. They can only do so much with what they have. But the people that did have the funds and the resources to test every day and didn't, that was a little puzzling to me across the board, because I think what you want to do is give yourself the best chance, especially when really no matter what you do, it's not going to be 100% for anybody.
Right. One last thing for me, actually. How can Indiana State test you guys? What's kind of the outlook there?
Well, I think a little bit of the uncertainty. They have good players. They have a good coach, but also the uncertainty. Like, you could get a team that hasn't played very much. They played one game, and maybe that's just not quite there yet. Or it's a team that's really, played well in practice. They get this early game, and you've seen, teams really play well. But, they have skill. They have athleticism. They'll get in the passing lanes. They'll make things hard for you. They have a good big guy. But they got guys that can shoot the basketball. They got guys that can break you down. They have a really good mix of players.
I'm good. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Tom?
I guess I don't have to ask you my leadership question because you answered it.
Yeah.
What it should look like.
How you try to do it, you just keep talking and hopefully you knock it all out. You just give a dissertation.
But I did want to ask, everybody's in the same boat. You usually have a few more games to iron some things out before you hit the conference season. But you're going to jump into conference are you going to jump into conference play next week with still a lot of unknowns about where you're at? And
sure.
Yeah. And how do you manage that?
Well, you just practice. And I think that's the one thing is you practice, you work on the things, that you're struggling with, you communicate, you watch film. And, I feel good about our guys. I know we didn't have a good performance the other night after we put ourselves in a great position. But we got a lot of young guys up in that office watching extra film, putting in time, working on their game. And they want to get better. And so that to me is encouraging. I'm not in the business of taking bad players. The guys that are here, can play basketball but can we play basketball together? Can we function as a group? And I think that's really, I always say that people kind of look at me funny when I say you got to be good at playing organized basketball, but it's true. You have to be able to do some really basic things and work with other guys, to put a good product out there. And I think that's something that we've been able to be pretty successful at in this program. But we obviously are struggling with that right now.
I know Zach watches a lot of film, and I know you want him to cut down on the fouls.
Yeah.
What needs to happen from his standpoint, and what are the teaching points for him to avoid those situations?
Come set when he's setting a screen. More than anything, don't have a sudden movement late because he can't get, stopped in comparison to other people. Like he has to come set. Probably not going to screen body to body as much as maybe some other people can, but he's so big that he can definitely change their route. When he goes to catch the basketball, where his arms are is normally where somebody's head is, but his arms can't be out. They have to be up. He had a couple calls I thought go against him in the Miami game, but if you watch the film and you're honest about it, he probably had a couple things he got away with. It's what works against you and it normally balances itself out. But more than anything, the calls that have went against him in 5 games, he probably has, I would say 3 calls this year go against him in 5 games. So it's not like it's, 2 calls a game, and he's had 10 calls go against him. He's got to get it corrected. He's got to adjust. I did think the other night that those officials didn't, really call some of the first things that happened. And so when he got fouls, you had guys not in legal guarding position. You had guys, putting 2 hands on him, displacing him in the post. Then he would foul them, which he did. but then they're not getting the first one. And that's just, refereeing 101. And, it was unfortunate because they could have cleaned some of that up right away. And it'd have been a better officiated game, and they let some of it go. And then when you let things go, you're creating an issue that sometimes you can't control, because now you want to be consistent and you want people to play on, and they're supposed to be cleaning up the post play. They say it every year, but it doesn't get consistently enforced. But you don't see guys like him a lot. So referees literally aren't very good at it because they just don't have a lot of practice of, officiating somebody that's 7'4", 290 pounds. But we have to adjust as a staff and just, help him. But he's also got to adjust. He's got to be able to go in the game and function. He plays 10 more minutes, we win the game. I think that's an easy statement.
And just one quick follow-up. How does this not affect his confidence as a young kid still learning the game? I mean, how do you manage that?
Just kind of be simple and kind of play within your elbows. Like you've always been told as a player to catch the basketball and protect yourself and chin it. And then you kind of like have your arms out like in a, double chicken wing. And that's really not, when you're that big, probably the best thing to do, because if you turn, it's probably a foul. So you got to kind of stay within yourself and keep your elbows in and just kind of squeeze the air out of the ball because you exposed it a little bit, and just adjust to it. And I don't think it's a confidence thing as much as it is just technique, being solid, being simple. If they double you, pass it before they can really get a good double on you. Be legal, catch it with a good base. Just a lot of basic fundamental things. Don't pass the ball across your body. And, it's part of it. Like it's a struggle, just like if somebody was traveling all the time, just like if somebody was, jumping in the air to pass, you got to correct yourself. You got to, play off of 2 feet. Don't throw the ball across your body. Just make the adjustment and work. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't know how much he's gotten the ball before, like he's getting it now. So we're throwing him the basketball because hell, he shoots 80%. It just makes sense to, but it's been counterproductive. At times it's been very efficient. And then also it's been counterproductive because, he's had a high level of turnovers. So anybody that shoots 80%, you would think hey, let's get him the ball. But if it's, you're going to get 4 turnovers in 15 minutes, but he's obviously a weapon. And so I think we can grow that weapon and get him to where he can play mistake-free basketball and, really play with a purpose down there and cause people a lot of problems.
All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Anyone else?
Just one more real quick, if you don't mind. Matt, what's holding Trayon back?
I just think the details of the game. I think if he'll stick to our rules, whether that's post D, ball screen D, efficiency on offense, like when we run plays, do the little things that make the plays work, box out every single time. Anytime you have struggles, just, go back to the basics. Yeah. Keep things simple. Don't make things complex. When, he's shooting tough shots or, trying to thread the needle when he passes or he gets away from our ball screen and our post defensive rules, you're not going to have as much success. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you've been through. There's guidelines, and there's parameters to the game that you have to stick to. And you just can't walk out there and just kind of float. And at times when he's engaged and he does that, he's a really good player. But when he doesn't, he's going to struggle and he's going to be inconsistent. And that's what you see right now in his play. He can get 11 rebounds in his sleep. He is a talented, instinctive rebounder. But there's a lot of other things that go along with the game of basketball. He's got the ability to be 2.5 to 1 assist to turnover ratio, shoot 60% from the field. He's got it to be a really good player. He's just got to have discipline and piece everything together. And when he does those things, he'll be more productive. So it's not a real hard thing. But it's something where, we need him, but we also need him playing the game the right way.
Right. Gotcha. Thank you, Matt.
Yep. Thanks, guys.